How is the course structured?
So the Further Maths course is structured in the way that the Further Maths students will form a unique group of students who have 18 lessons across the fortnight. On the timetable, it will say 9 maths, 9 further maths, but we could use any lesson across the 2 years to deliver maths content or further maths content. The majority of Year 12 will be studying maths content in a way that we cover 3/4 of the maths content in Year 12 and only 1/4 of the further maths content. And then Year 13 will cover 3/4 of the further maths content and 1/4 of the maths content. And the further maths content is split in a similar way to the maths content area. We do further pure, further statistics and further mechanics.
What are the key topics covered?
So, in the further pure, you meet a lot of topics which will extend your pure knowledge from maths. I'm about to say lots of words that may not mean a lot to some people, but these are the topics we cover in the further pure. We look at things called matrices, complex numbers, and we do a lot of work on vectors, which will extend your work from GCSE. We do work with series and proof, which is quite a big topic, and then into Year 13, we do more work with complex numbers, and we look at things called hyperbolic functions and solving differential equations, which we can apply to a wide array of real-life settings. In the further statistics, we will be focusing on lots more distributions, building on the ones you learn in maths, such as the binomial and normal. We'll look at things called geometric distributions and negative binomial distributions and Poisson distributions, and doing lots more what's called hypothesis testing. And then the mechanics, further mechanics, will be looking at what you do in mechanics in a lot more detail, and you'll be looking at things like momentum, energy, impulse, those kind of things. It's just, in further maths, you'll meet a lot of topics you would never have met if you just studied maths.
What does the assessment involve?
The assessment for further maths is 100% exam based. End of Year 13, you'll do 4 exams, each an hour and a half long. 2 of them are further pure, which makes up 50% of the course, covering anything from the Year 12 further pure or the Year 13 further pure. And then we have 2 exams one exam for further stats and 1 exam for further mechanics. Both again an hour and a half, both 25% of the course.
Well, what grades do you need to study further maths?
To study further maths, our entry requirement is an 8 at GCSE, because we think that stands you in good stead to progress onto the challenging further maths topics. Of course, a 9 would be even better.
What's the difference between maths and further maths?
Further maths is obviously more maths, and you will be studying topics that you would never meet if you had just studied maths. I think it is more interesting, more engaging, the problems are more challenging. And I think the key difference between maths and further maths, in maths, the questions that you can be presented with in an exam are quite standard, and you might just know the way to get from A to B in a question. Whereas in further maths, I like to think you are developing more as an independent problem solver and have to really think how you apply your knowledge, and it really stands you in good stead for progressing on to further study at university. But in essence, it is just completely different topics in maths, and presented in a much more interesting and engaging way.
Why should I study further maths and not just maths?
I think you should study further maths if you really enjoy maths. Obviously, you will be doing at least 2 hours of maths every single day. So if that is something that you would enjoy, then further maths is the one for you. I'd say people who love maths should be doing further maths and really enjoy the problems and what they get out of it. You don't have to do further maths and go on to do a maths degree. It can lead on to any sort of degree. It really helps just to develop you as an independent problem solver and help you with other skills.
Is there any equipment to buy?
The equipment for further maths is just the same as maths. So the calculator that you use in your maths lessons is exactly the same calculator you can use in your further maths lessons. It does all the stuff you need to do with complex numbers, matrices and vectors, and the other stuff we cover in further maths.
Would there be any trips?
So you may be surprised that we do actually have occasionally a few trips in further maths. Each year we send a team of students to the Team Maths Challenge at Cambridge who represent the school. Often we are sent information by the Advanced Maths Support Network about problem solving conferences and other things going on at universities to prepare people for higher study. or some of our students apply for top universities such as Oxbridge and Warwick or Durham for maths, and they have entrance requirements, things like the STEP or the MAT, and often our students go away and do courses or even residential visits to prepare them for those additional entry exams.
What future employment would further maths be good for?
Further maths is highly regarded by all universities and all employers. It really could open so many doors for you. There is not just one field you could go into further maths. You could basically go into whatever you want. Like you could, I mean, the classic thing people would think about is working in like accounting and finance, but you could be working in like media, I don't know, game design, technology, statistics, software. I've covered not even everything there. You could do so much with further maths A-level. Tell me what you have found most interesting about the further maths course so far.
I myself have found matrices incredibly interesting because it's such a simple tool. It seems complicated when you start, but it's actually very, very elegant and just useful because it has so many applications in so many different fields. It can be used in computer science, for instance in rendering, graphics, things like that. Also in science. I know that matrices and linear algebra are used all the time in some fields of science, and just generally using them in proofs and anything to do with maths. Matrices are such a unique tool, and it's completely changed how I think about maths.
I really enjoy the problem solving aspects of the questions in further maths and how it challenges you to think about methods rather than just telling you what to do right off the bat.
I really enjoyed the introduction to 3D vectors because yes, you learn a bit about vectors at GCSE, but it's the first time you ever see them in a completely different light, and I find that really interesting to learn about.
Mine would probably be not a particular topic, but just the overarching proofs of all the topic, it helps you deepen your understanding of every single topic, just to know exactly where it comes from.
Tell me why you chose to study further maths.
I chose to study further maths as I thought it would set me out from other candidates in university admissions, as I am applying to study for very competitive courses in very high ranking universities. And I thought if I took an extra, more challenging subject, then I would have a higher chance of getting into the university I want to go to.
Yeah, I also picked further maths for my further study. I think there's a lot of maths courses that would require further maths as an A-level, which is always useful. And it's, as someone that just enjoys maths, it's always, fun to do even more maths than you would do if you just picked a maths A-level.
Yeah, I did further maths because I really enjoyed maths at GCSE and I wanted to challenge myself and learn something completely new. And like Freya said, it will set me apart in university applications and because it's so challenging.
I picked it because, I was good at it. And, I wanted to be able to, see more stuff and do more stuff. And further maths was just, the perfect thing to expand my view on the subject.
Right. So I want you to think back to a year or so ago when you were applying for further maths or considering applying for further maths, and put yourselves in the shoes of a year 11 who might not decided they want to do further maths and might be umming and ahhing about whether to do it or not. So what advice would you give that year 11?
I would personally just say to keep on top of everything we go through. In further maths, there's a lot of content to get through. We go through pretty quickly. So if just after every topic, just go over, do some exam questions on the topic, and just make sure you understand the topic fully before you go into the next one.
Yeah, I agree with Cameron. I think that making sure you're on top of all your work and organising what homework you've got to do, your coursework for maybe other subjects that you're taking and any extracurriculars, because further maths is certainly not the easiest subject in the world.
I would say my advice would be you need to only take it if you actually enjoy it. There'd be no point in taking further maths if you weren't willing to put in the work and spend many hours a week dedicated purely to maths.
I would say that if you want to do further maths, you have to be able to just take a moment to just think things over in your head and get some intuition on every single subject you do, because if you go into something and you don't have this ground level intuition, things are going to be very difficult for you. So my advice, you must just take a little bit of time every single topic you go over and just think about it and mull it over in your head.
Especially maybe if you were very good at maths at GCSE or being introduced to some very new concepts. So don't be put down when you maybe don't get things on the first try.
Did you find, for example, that you didn't have many problems going through GCSE with maths?
Yes.
But then you found some topics that further maths at A level a bit more challenging, and for the first time you're going to be like, ooh, this is hard.
Yeah, exactly. As to my point as how you need the intuition, initially I wasn't fond of matrices because it was a very difficult thing and it was very clunky if you look at it from just the very basics without knowing anything. But once I had a solid intuition for how matrices works, everything just became so much easier and so much nicer to do.
So, what is the best thing about your further maths lessons here at Harts and Essex?
I think the best things are the maths teachers here. They're really lovely and they always push you to work harder, and if you don't understand a concept, they're always willing to help you understand, and they don't just give you the answer, they help you find a way to reach the answer yourself.
I agree with that, and also my favourite thing is the exam questions that you do after you do some questions on each topic, because once a mock comes or an exam or a test, nothing looks too unrecognisable. You've sort of seen it all before, so I find that quite useful.
I enjoyed the progress that you can make over maybe just a lesson or over a topic, from completely not knowing anything about a subject to being able to answer like 10-mark exam questions on the topic.
The thing I feel is the best is that you can go into any lesson and walk out knowing you've actually properly learned something, and then there's something you can understand. And it's not like it's something that's like, I have no idea what I just did and I have no idea why I'm doing it. You can actually go in and come out saying, this is something I know how it works and what it does, and I know how to use it.
Yeah, you would very rarely come out of a lesson completely confused about a topic. By the end of the lesson you will completely understand it. And I think, like Cameron said, it's the exam questions at the end that help bring everything back together.
So our final question is, we're going to discuss what we would want to do in the future and how further maths has helped us.
In the future I want to get a PhD in maths. So obviously something like doing further maths would be incredibly helpful, because, well, obviously you need to be able to be very good at problem solving and doing literally everything with maths if you want to get a PhD.
I want to study biochemistry at university, and it's not the normal maths route that a lot of people would take after studying further maths, but I feel like further maths really helps in the sciences, because you need to have a logical way of thinking and problem solving, and especially chemistry. There's a lot of maths and concepts which I feel like are really enhanced by my study of further maths.
Similar to Rory, I'm also applying to Cambridge to do maths, and as for like beyond university level, there's just a wide array of fields you could go into, whether it be maths with like physics, being a physicist, or biochemistry, as Steph said, or just the financial sector of any business. Really, it's a very useful subject to do at university.
I'm applying to do management at a lot of universities, as well as accounting and business finance, which, when taking further maths, maybe doesn't seem very conventional, because you wouldn't think it impacts a lot on management, but most management courses cover a lot of economics and finance, which further maths can really help you understand certain models of business graphs, and it can really give you a deeper understanding as to why certain things happen rather than just being told, oh, this happens.